How do you have these epiphanies, and what thought process are you always asking yourself to encourage that to come out so that way you're always adapting and growing?
I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio in my car. I'm just always consuming. I'm always consuming podcasts and just listening to guys and gals talk about their business because I always pick up a nugget.
2019, what was your additional hires after that to climb up?
So the first hire I would say is you got your TC, right? So TC is about $350 to $400 a transaction. I could do 50 deals at $19,000 with one transaction coordinator. If I hire an assistant, it's 50 grand. It's 40 grand. So it's cheaper to have two TCs or one TC than hire an assistant, which people say, hire the assistant. So I would hire the TC. The first person I would hire is a ISA. $2,000 a month, 5% override on every deal. Tell me one agent that you know, except the weird Mike Ferry people, and even we're not perfect, that sits and prospects for 2 to 3 hours a day. Nobody.
World-class lessons from the real estate industry's top 1%. Empowering agents to think bigger and do more to create life by design. Get access to exclusive interviews with top producing real estate professionals. Listen in as we talk about their journey in the business, best practices, and lessons learned. Hosted by KIRO, NASRALAH, and John Scipione.
I mean, one thing that we always say in our office is just action is better than perfection, right?
This is Light It Up with Lighthouse Residential.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up Podcast. We are thrilled to have with us here Miss Tina Caul, who runs the Caul Group out of Raleigh, North Carolina. This year, her team will do 850 transactions with the 50 agents on her team in production, representing about $400 million in total volume. How about that?
Damn.
Yeah.
Welcome on.
Some big numbers there, Tina. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today on this lovely Friday. We appreciate you spending some time and sharing all the things you do at a very high level. So thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Well, the pleasure is all ours.
All right.
So now, all right, go ahead. Introduce the topic.
Go ahead. I don't need to intro. Again, we're going to do the lightning round.
Mm-hmm.
We like to do this because everybody gets to know each other a little bit better. So KIRO makes fun of me when I talk about this, but
Uh-oh, I'm scared.
John stole these from a bar, so he can call it whatever he wants to.
These are
these are ones from. Okay, fair enough. All right, so finish the rest of the sentence. Men need to do a better job at blank.
Good one.
Oh, God. Men need to do a better job at just letting their female counterparts make more of the decisions.
Damn, all right. I will not dig into that one.
I was like, this could dictate the rest of the episode.
In my world, talking to my husband. That's what I'm
We'll cut this up and send it over to him.
That's right. Send it to him.
Which of two is more important for you in a relationship, loyalty or love?
Which of two is more important? I would say loyalty.
All right, this one's deep, and I'm going to make this a thing where I ask this all the time.
Mine was pretty deep.
That was. Now, if you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
3 people dead or alive. Oh my goodness. Well, so growing up, I watched a lot of Oprah, and I feel like Oprah raised me. So I would probably have fun with Oprah. I know a lot of people don't like her, but I would have dinner with Oprah. Who else? My goodness. Probably Gary Vee. I'd probably have dinner with Gary Vee. He's a wild child, so I think that would be fun. And then I'd probably go have dinner with Tony Robbins because I love personal development and I like people that study human nature. So I think I'd probably learn a lot there.
What's crazy is when we asked that to Elias, he mentioned Tony Robbins too.
Did he? Oh yeah. He's a very interesting cat. That's for sure.
Well, okay, great. That's interesting. Both of you guys said that.
Actually, Elias said he wanted to have dinner with you.
Oh, well.
Nah, I'm kidding.
He's had dinner with me before. So.
All right. Let's see. I like this one. Funniest comedian of all time.
Oh my gosh. Well, growing up, Eddie Murphy comes to mind. growing up. I'm 44, so that was my childhood. Eddie Murphy.
I like that. Can't go wrong with Eddie Murphy.
That's right.
I was hesitant to ask that question, but it really tells a lot about the person that you're about to spend some more time with and speak with further. So Eddie Murphy tells me all I need to know. I am more and more excited about this interview.
Is that good or bad?
Awesome. Cool. So let's jump into it. KIRO usually takes it from here. Lead us off, buddy.
I got you. So starting in the industry at 19 years old, right? Did I do the math real quick?
21.
21.
Or no,
So-
I was 23. 23. I'm 44, so 21 years.
Okay, sorry. So 23 years old, you got into the industry. Can you, if I was a friend of yours at that time and I was to say, and I was to ask that friend, hey, can you tell us a little bit about Tina's journey? How would they explain that or paint a picture for us?
So when I was 23, I fell into real estate. In fact, my husband and I met at 16. We've been together ever since. And so that's why I want him to listen to me more. But anyway, so our real estate agent at the time, we both dropped out of college and we decided to be entrepreneurs. And my real estate agent who was finding us a house got me into real estate. So what happened the first 7 years is I became the equivalent of the people that I hung around with. So the agents in my office, we sold about 25, 30 homes a year. And what happened was the market crashed in 2006 and I lost almost all my income. I went from $150,000, which was great for me in my 20s, down to 40. And so what I realized then, I was either going to leave the business or something had to change. And I ended up Googling real estate coaches, mentorship. I was looking to learn how to sell real estate and actually be a real estate sales professional. And I fell into the Mike Ferry organization and immediately I hired a coach. And that coach taught me how to, develop my time management skills, my prospecting, just understanding scripts and dialogue. And so immediately I knew how to structure the day and my income went right back in 12 months to 150,000. And not only that, in 2009 with my coach, she's like, what do you want to do? What's your big hairy goal? And I said, moving out of Michigan, because I don't want to live somewhere where the wind hurts my face 6 months out of the year. And so we did, we packed up and we left. Kevin was making 150 grand. I was making 150 grand for $300,000 a year as 29-year-olds, 30-year-olds. We just packed up and left and we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina and started over. So that was the beginning of my journey back then.
Well,
Who was the Mike Ferry coach?
So I had several. So I had this guy named Bob, don't remember his last name, so not impactful. Gay Lee, so not very long with Gay Lee. And then finally, Kathy Anderson. That was my coach for 6 years. She was amazing.
You just pulled at his heartstrings.
Mine too. I had a feeling you were going to say Kathy. I worked
you
with
guys know
Kathy for about maybe 3 years, right up until her retirement.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys are Mike Ferry agents too?
Yeah.
I love it.
Kathy,
yeah, I love it. You're my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of Mike Ferry coaches. A lot of them were very, very good. And I remember a lot of them, throughout the day and throughout my business. But Kathy comes to mind probably the most frequently just because of all her little sayings.
Yes. And I had Monica Reynolds too, coached me for about a year. Monica was great before she left to go to, now she runs MAPS coaching, I think, for KW. So yeah, I've had some great coaches in my life. I have 3 now. So I'm always being coached. I will forever be a student.
Yeah. I used to have a board on my, or a board in my office that said, "Suck it up, cupcake," from Kathy.
Yeah, from Kathy. Oh yeah. And I still have it on my board right now. It says, if it's to be, it's up to me. I crossed out the me and it says we. So because I run a team now.
There you go.
Out of 30 episodes, you probably mentioned her maybe 25 times. Out of the 30 episodes.
Yep. And I've tried to get her to be on the episode, on the podcast, and
She won't?
she said yes, but where she lives, she doesn't have a great internet signal.
That's
So
right. In Vermont.
in Vermont. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I
the
love
Suck
her.
It Up cupcake is a lot more easygoing
Like being called cupcake.
than the other other
that's
analogy.
the way to say it.
Well, no, I brought up a saying of hers the other day in our office.
She's going through nostalgia right now.
She said, no, it's funny. I'm trying to lead into it. She was like, it was about when you're pre-qualifying somebody and you're being a little bit too aggressive and you're just trying to close for the appointment without actually getting to know them a little bit more. And she would always say, John, Less rape, more foreplay is what you would say.
Yeah, more foreplay. I remember that.
And you tell somebody that your coach said that, and they're like, "Ooh, Jesus!" And I'm like, "Well, she's an older woman. She could be my mother, but
Exactly.
she whips me right into shape with that saying, and it always snaps me back into reality. And you got to massage it a little bit more." So,
So true. It's so true. Yeah, she is amazing. She is amazing. She gets people into momentum, with a loving edge, right? So she can kick your ass, but tell you how wonderful you are in the same sentence.
yeah, I've never been so afraid of somebody that I've appreciated so much.
Wow.
Right? Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I loved it.
Yes.
Wow.
She was good at that.
I wish you could see him up close right now.
Yeah.
I want to give him a hug. I feel like he's missing her.
Kathy's the best.
I know. She is.
All right, so 7 years in the business in Michigan, you get a Mike Ferry coach, things are picking up. You and your husband are like, let's get the hell out of here. You're starting
Get out.
brand new in North Carolina.
Yes.
No database in North Carolina, no friends, family in North Carolina.
Don't know a soul. Just me and my scripts.
You and your scripts. Now, out of all places, Raleigh, so you're close to Fort Bragg's, but you're not close enough to develop a niche for, VAs or stuff like that. There's still some there.
Yep.
Walk us through entering in a new marketplace.
So, again, I was armed with the courage, the knowledge of the Mike Ferry scripts. And it was hard. The first 6 months, it's funny. I had Kathy as my coach at that time. And she'd say, come on, princess, just get your crown on and just get out there. And I'm like, I don't feel, I actually flaked out. Like the first 6 months, I freaked out, flaked out. I was like, people have accents down here. They know I'm from the North. And they keep saying, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Saskatchewan.
Like it was weird. And I would call people on the phone and they'd have an accent and it felt like I wasn't home. And I sold one house that happened to be a short sale the first 6 months. The second 6 month period, I remember my husband knocked on my door one day to our office because of course I'm like, I want the biggest office. We're going to kill it. And he's like, honey, we came with a net worth of $100,000. That was it. That's what we were worth at 30 years old. And he's like, honey, we're down to 20 grand. So, if we don't sell homes, it's over. We're going back to Michigan. And I'm like, over my dead body, like I will be a Walmart greeter. Not that there's anything wrong with that before I go back to Michigan because I loved it here. And I got on the phones and just worked through it. And, it was my mindset that was shitty the first 6 months. And then I sold 33 homes that second 6 month period. The next year I sold 55. The next year was 88. And then we got up to 120 deals. And then I stayed at about 120 deals for about 4 years. And then I started to build the team. And I remember Kathy would tell me like selling 33 homes or 50 homes is way harder than selling 100. And I never believed her, but she was so right because once the systems and processes are set up and you have, your assistant and then my husband helped in the background, selling 10, 12 homes a month was easy. Like I could do it with my eyes closed and it was listing based. So, so I just did that. I did the expired FSBOs and really mainly expireds. Those were my jam.
Yeah.
I'm with you. You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
So how did you transition from going 100 to selling 120 homes a year to growing to the team that you have now, 50 agents? You said, I think when we were preparing for the show that you're on target or your goal is to get to 75 agents. How did you flip the switch on that?
Well, it wasn't an overnight thing. So it was sort of like you have these epiphanies. You're like, you go from broke, like I have no money, no net worth, and you meet Mike Ferry and you see all these Mike Ferry people making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, I want to be like them. I wanted to see $1 million on my tax return, like on gross, GCI. And I did it. And so once that goal was there, I was like, man, year after year after year, I'm just like a robot. Like I'm doing this no problem, but I'm not having fun. I'm eating in my car. I'm eating lunch and dinner in my car. I'm missing my kids' game here and there. I didn't feel like I was building anything. And I used to have I remember these panic attacks. Like if something happens to me, if I get cancer, what did I build? I built nothing. I'm just on a hamster wheel. So I just, kind of started to think about leverage, and I never wanted to lead a team because I didn't see myself as a leader or whatever. And I still don't today. I just kind of chuckle. I'm like, these people are following me still. Yep, they are. Okay, fine. So I hired 2 buyer's agents at the time, and they sold another 40 homes. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to give all my buyer business to them. I was at Remax at the time. Remax was great. I stayed there 9 years. And when I started to add up that I was paying them 100 grand a year, I started to realize that I could take that $100,000 and move to Keller Williams with a cap and I could use that extra 80 grand or whatever it was, 75 grand. And I could put that into leverage. I could put that into a team leader or a manager, sales manager, somebody to help me grow and expand the business. Because the biggest thing that I watch, because I actually do a lot of research and development, I watched all these team leaders, and they would either start a team prematurely and it would fail, or they would start a team, but they would be in production, and then they're bringing all these agents on, and then the agents end up leaving because they're still in production. They feel like they're competing with the leader, or the leader has no time, so they're part-time leaders. And so part-time leadership wasn't something I wanted to be a part of. And I didn't want to lead these people. I wanted them to have some autonomy, and I wanted them to be led by somebody else. So the way I envision it is I'm still running my business over here, my $1 million business, but I'm opening a brokerage, I'm opening up a team, and somebody's got to run this business. Because if you ask an agent in production selling 100 deals, would you go open up a coffee shop right now and do all the jobs to open up the coffee shop? You go, no, I don't have freaking time. Well, you don't have time to open up a team. You have no time. So who believes they can open up a team when they're in production? You just can't. So you need to take money over here that you're earning and take the money and put it into the second business, which is the team. And that's what I did. I started funneling money over here into this business. So as this is growing, then I can start decreasing my risk and my deals. And so anyway, we went to Keller. But what I started discovering again is that there's a problem. There's a problem in the traditional brokerage model is it's broken. Agents that come in have a ceiling. They can only be on your team, and they can only be under your umbrella, and you're going to teach them all these things, and then they're going to leave. And when you look at the top agents in my town, like we're one of the top 2 teams out of 10,000 agents, most of the top 10 are agents that were on other teams. So they were trained, and then they became competition of their team leader. And I'm like, man, there's got to be something different. So I was actually leaving Keller Williams to go independent, like you guys. Let's just go independent. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to give my agents more opportunity. And then, I got bombarded by another Mike Ferry agent, Michelle Sayward, who was a friend of mine. And she's like, you have to look at the EXP model. I think it'll fix your scalability issue. And we ended up going to EXP, and I grew from 2 agents to 10 agents or 8 agents when I joined EXP. And then I started to really pour money into the team. We got up to 12 agents, 24 agents, now 50 agents. So instead of me chasing a $10,000 commission check or $12,000, I'll chase an agent, groom the agent, help the agent, coach the agent. And that profitability of the agent is like me replacing, 4 deals of me doing business. So I know the net profit of one agent on my team is $42,000 per agent. You have 10 agents, it's $420,000. You have 20 agents, it's $840,000. So it's a different mindset shift that I'm going into leadership, I'm going into coaching, I'm going into training. My agents are on 50-50 splits, 60-40, or up to 35-40% on listings. But I'm investing in the business heavily. 70 cents of every dollar goes to them, and I take the 30 cents and I run the business, and I run it very profitably. And my P&L statement is open with my agents, so they know what I make, I know what they make, and we don't lose a lot of agents that way because it's a win-win for all of us.
The amount of value in what you said is insane.
Very long-winded answer, but that was fantastic. No, I'm being sarcastic. I mean, I took about a half a page of notes from that. So
good.
Incredible.
That analogy though of getting out of the business and the way that you did it is the way you said it was so simple and it made perfect sense.
The coffee shop.
Yeah. It's like you're taking money in here and you're investing into this business as 2 different things because what you said is so true. But I think that to add into it is your first hire had to be a critical decision.
That's what I was going to ask. You said that you can't really start the team, while you're in full production because nobody wants the part-time leader. But tell us, how did you end up? Did you completely shut down your business? I know you were funneling money, but I guess what was the time frame? Who was in charge of building the team?
It was 2018. End of 2017, I hired my, I called her operations manager, but she was the sales trainer and operations manager. So she started to build the blueprint for the business, the employee manual and all the other things, run the meetings, do all the things I didn't want to do. I don't want to run meetings. I want to just be at the meetings. And so she did all of that. And so it was 2018. She grew it to about 10 agents. And then 2019, I joined EXP. That year, I still sold 100 homes as I was, recruiting some agents here and there to EXP. And then by 2020, middle of 2020, I got out of the business because EXP was growing. I created that revenue share stream there. So it was replacing some of the income, not all, but some, just enough to make me happy. And I could see the light at the end of the tunnel that, okay, if I continue to bring agents on and provide them a lot of value, then I could start exiting. So I think my last year in sales was 2020. And then 2021 was, I didn't touch a deal. And of course, this year, I haven't touched a deal.
Your husband's name is Edward?
What was that?
You said your husband's name was what? I'm sorry.
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin.
Why would you just guess?
I'm sorry. I don't know why. Kevin, you let Tina make all the decisions, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's funny because we always laugh. You know, he says, honey, yeah, he knows, like EXP, he hated that decision. He's like, no, we're not going to do it. And now he loves it. Like he would tattoo it on his ass. Like he loves EXP. So he lets me make a lot of the decisions, but.
Awesome. So 2018, 10 agents, and you had a sales trainer and the ops.
Yeah.
2019, what was your additional hires after that to climb
So,
up?
you know, like we had our, if I did it today, guys, I would do it different. So let's say you're an agent, you want to start a team. To me, an agent that's if 50 deals a year needs to start thinking about team because they start to lose some of their lives, right? So 50, 60, 70, 80 deals, now it's team building time. So the first hire I would say is you've got your TC, right? So TC is about $350 to $400 a transaction. I could do 50 deals at $19,000 with one transaction coordinator. If I hire an assistant, it's 50 grand, it's 40 grand. So it's cheaper to have two TCs or one TC than hire an assistant, which people say, hire the assistant. So I would hire the TC. The first person I would hire is a ISA, $2,000 a month, 5% override on every deal. Tell me one agent that you know, except the weird Mike Ferry people, and even we're not perfect, that sits in prospects for 2 to 3 hours a day. Nobody. So very rarely every single day like a robot. I mean, there's a few people in the Mike Ferry organization, but nobody does it exactly like they should. So how many agents are buying leads and they're not calling, they're not doing war dialing, they're not calling the lead within 5 minutes. So a lot of these independent agents could have so many more appointments if they just hire an ISA. My God, it's a low income producing activity if you ask me to sit and prospect for 3 hours like Mike taught us. So I would hire that out and do it with them, but let them do it for the other 6 hours that you're going to be on appointments. So now you've got you doing it 2 hours, well, the other 6, you've got the ISA. So now when that ISA starts to have more appointments to give you than you can handle, that's when you start adding agents. You say, hey, Mr. Agent, come over here. I've got appointments, not just leads. Who cares about the leads? You still have to call them and be a good skilled salesperson. But if you have appointments and you just need people to go open the doors, your value proposition just skyrocketed to an agent that hates to prospect.
Mm-hmm. And the so splits are more justified.
Exactly. Now you've got appointments and now you can keep adding ISAs because those are the true partners in business that are going to make sure the organization never loses opportunities. Like Mike Ferry, he's got salespeople making sure that they get butts in seats. Every corporation has an inside sales team except for real estate agents. So, you know, that model was 8 years ago that we started it, but it makes sense to have an ISA faster than hiring all these salaries that don't really bring in ROI.
Yeah. Where would you find the ISA if you were a brand new agent?
I think, you know, for me, I mean, where I would call right now in our market, there's no cars to sell at car dealerships. And if you call or you go on to online and you say, I want to buy a new BMW, if you do it at 4 different dealerships and you're going to get these people now, the ISAs that call and bombard you, I would interview the one that called me back the most. And then you liked their back and forth. And you could even say like, hey, you know, John, you know, thank you so much for calling me back. You know, I'm a year out, but let me ask you, I'm looking for somebody that I want to hire just like you. And you're so tenacious and you've called me back and you followed up. And I really love, how much does an ISA or an inside sales associate make at the BMW over there? Oh, we make about 40 grand. Really? Well, who do you know like you that would be willing to do a job like this that could potentially make 80 to 100 grand? Me. So like they don't have, it's not a great job right now, the car dealerships and the people that are booking appointments. So they'd have much better luck in real estate and make more money. So I would start there.
Reminds me of another Kathy Anderson story. I was just telling this one this morning to somebody else. Kathy said to me, we were talking about for sale by owners, obviously years ago. And she said, John, if I were going to sell my house, I would put a for sale by owner sign in my front yard. said, Kathy, you've been coaching me for 3 years. This goes against everything we've ever talked about. What the hell are you talking about? Why would you put a for sale by owner sign? She said, John, after 1 week, I'd get calls from 10 agents. After 2 weeks, I'd get calls. Only 8 of those 10 agents would still be around. And she said, by the end of week 3 or 4, I'd figure out who the best agent was in town.
What? Right.
And that's exactly what you just said, right? You'd call 4 dealerships and figure out who the most tenacious and persistent one was. So,
and then I'd hire
I like
them.
that. I like that.
That's I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have the ISA, and then what's the next person after that?
So then next person after that would, well, you've got so you're building a team, remember, so if you don't have the budget to put in an operations person, that would be it. It'd be TC, then you, then ISA, then I'd probably bring in an agent. But the minute you're bringing in that agent or two, now it's time to hire that sales manager, that person that's going to manage the sales team, groom the sales team, keep them rah-rah. Like, you need a coach. You need someone that's going to maintain these people and then recruit. So that sales manager's job is to now grow the brokerage. So you're hiring to recruit, train, retain, and make sure that your sales team is growing.
Yeah, that's hiring bottom versus bottom up, which is
Yes.
smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to make sure the infrastructure is there and the value's there, then you can start adding agents, right? People do it backwards. It's like, I've heard people like, well, you bring in the agents. Well, I'm making them prospect. Well, then why do they need you? They're going, I could do this on my own, so they've got to have some kind of care, some leads, some appointments. And then of course you train them on the foundation of the business, which is our, time management, prospecting, and all the things they teach us. But you got to give them a little something to want to join you.
Yeah.
So what is it that you would say you give to your agents on your team that differentiates you from some of your competitors?
Oh my God, we do so much for them. So, obviously our agents on our team have a full staff. So when they go out and they list a property, they're not scheduling anything. So we're doing drone photography. We're doing their staging for them. Their signs, lock boxes. Even when they close on a property, the gift basket's ready for them. They grab it from the office, they go. We hire cleaning people for them if they hit a certain amount of deals. We hire landscaping people for them. They do get bonuses every month for whoever hits so many deals, like $800 if you sell 5 or more homes cash at our meetings. Like there's fun incentives, right? And so the goal is that, yes, they're on 50-50 splits or 60-40 on the buy side, but the goal is the 50% that they would be saving or spending really if they went on their own. I know that 30% of that's going to go back into their business. So they're going to save 20%. Is the headache worth it? Or can I give them, as a team leader, 20% more value to stay? And I think the answer is yes, because they're plug and play. So when they turn in a contract, buy side or sell side, they just walk away and they might do a little bit of negotiation, but that's it. They have a full service team. They also have our brand, they get videographers on demand. They recruit to our team now, which is great. So I have agents on my team that actually have teams of 55 to 100 agents under them. So they know that they're building it smarter than me. They don't have to go out and build this empire. Our team just our staffing alone is $700,000, but we're still very, very profitable. I mean, the team will bring in $7 million. And by the time it's all said and done, I make $2,200 a transaction. They make $5, I make $22. I have to be a volume business. They're actually netting more than me. And that's why an open P&L is so important when you're a team leader, because you have to show them, how are you investing in us? How are you, where are the dollars going? As long as they believe that it's going to them and they see it. I have 3 coaches for them. They're always getting pushed. They're always getting developed. So they feel comfortable and they stay. We have very low attrition.
Wow. That's so valuable. All right. So your operations and sales person, is she still with you now?
Yes. Well, our first one is not. She actually went off and moved to the beach. So about 3 hours away, which was sad to lose her, but she's an agent there and doing fantastic. And here's a perfect example. She left my team at EXP as an operations manager. She sold 45 homes her first year at the beach, and she's still at EXP. So we're still business partners.
Which is perfect. So if I was to ask her, hey, when you guys were first starting, what was one of the biggest challenges for growing the way that it was? What do you think her answer would be?
Looking back at our challenges, it was probably like, how do we motivate these people? How do we are we militant? Do we make them like come in every day and prospect, or do we let them sort of do their own thing on social media? We were trying to find a happy balance. And what we realized is the more pressure we put on them, they hated it. But if we didn't put enough on them, they failed. So it was like we needed that in the middle. So we made them come in 3 days a week where they prospected. If they hit their numbers, like if an agent's hitting 5 units a quarter, they don't need to come in. We're not going to micromanage you. We're like, come and go as you please. We don't care. Just hit your minimum standard. If you want to coach, our current sales manager meets with them once a month, which I think we're going to up even more, like maybe once every 2 weeks. But, she stays on them. And other than that, they can come and go as they please. So, but if you're a brand new agent now, you come into our world, you're going to be 90 days. You're going to be on those phones. You have to come in every day. You have to role play with the team. There's about 25 of them that are there every morning, and they have a great culture. I mean, they push each other, and that's the culture that we are. Like that was the foundation of my business. It's not the only way that you can do it, but it's got to be the foundation. Smile, dial, make a pile. Then I'll groom you to be SOI if you hate the phones, or we'll groom you to do more social media, but just build your foundation, and then we'll groom you based on what your personality, based on the DISC is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that was what initially wanted us to connect. The 90 days for brand new agents.
Right, for the onboarding.
KIRO just wanted to know the secret sauce for the 90 days. No, I think you had posted something on social, or maybe it was a connection through Colton, and we had asked him, what do the first few months look like for a new agent on your team? And he said, I think someone who does it really, really well is Tina. First 90 days, what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. I mean, they're in every day, they're doing script and role play. They're learning their listing presentation. So even though we don't allow them to list right away, they're learning their listing presentation. I mean, we're really motivating them to learn scripts. I always tell them, you're getting an acting job. Don't think this is real estate, this is acting. And I want you to know your lines. So that way, when they get out there in the field, they're not feeling like, what do I say? Or they're worried about what to say. So that's it. I mean, we go through time management, prospecting, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, pricing property, handling objections. I mean, the basic stuff. They have to, if they're brand new, they have to learn obviously how to do even more with the filling in contracts and doing all those things. But to me, it's like, if you don't learn what to say, you're not going to want the appointment. You're not going to want to meet the buyer. So why am I going to put you in a situation where you're going to mess it up anyway if you're not comfortable on what to say? So lots of script and role play.
I love Tina. This is crazy because, so what you said is interesting in the terms of coming from an MFO background. By the way, everything you said in the 90-day process is from that transcript, right? Yeah. Scripts, like dialogue, time management, all that is in the Mike Ferry system that you're teaching them. Right. But coming from a Mike Ferry background and starting a team and having the thought process of, do we have a militant way with these agents? Do we have a flexibility way? John and I, we were very MFO, we used to bleed MFO almost, where it's like, if you were Tom Ferry, we wouldn't talk to you. Right. And the thought process behind it is like, if we did it and it worked for us, you have to do it 5 days a week, XYZ. And then the more pressure you apply, like, why aren't you making your calls? Why aren't you making your contacts? You do feel like they push back, and then they get distanced, even though they believe that you're right, but they don't like someone telling them what to do, because I'm assuming they got into the industry to be their own boss, right?
Exactly. There's a book called Coaching Salespeople into Sales Champions. It's by Keith Rosen. It is by far one of the best coaching books I've ever read. How to get people to move. Because here's the thing. The three of us are probably high D personalities. I know I am off the charts. It's like, just be direct with me. Even though it's funny, I'm a D SI. So I'm S too, but in business, I'm a D. It's like, I want results. I want them yesterday. I'll run through brick walls, and I just got to get that result. And that's why I liked expireds. But I think that, when you learn how to ask our people questions, they have to self-discover why they're afraid of whatever they're afraid of, or why they're resistant. And I used to come at them. That's why I didn't want to be the sales trainer in the beginning, because I was like, just do it. Just pick up the phone, smile, dial. Here's the script. Like, come on, what are you afraid of? That's just not the right approach. So it's really getting into their head and their motivation, asking amazing questions. That book is full of amazing questions to get your people to feel like it's their decision to do it, not that you just want them to do it. And especially when you really know the personality styles, because I've studied them even more, some people want to be unique and different. So if you're telling them, this is how you have to do it. Mike only taught us DISC, D-I-S-C. He taught us a very basic, you're high D, you're high I, you're high S. When you look at the values index and and that's where Tony Robbins comes in, you really start understanding DISC. I need to know if this person is a high altruistic or high economic or high political or high individualistic, because if they want to be unique and different and you're telling them they can only do it this way, they're going, no way, John KIRO, there's other ways to do it. I'm unique. I'm going to do it this way. And then they're pushing you away. So the more I study human nature and how people move and ebb and flow, it's like, oh, I can move this person to do what we need for them, for their own good, but I got to use different language. So I'm just talking to a different client right now, not a seller, not a buyer. Like I was trained, sign the contract, please. I'm now talking to a human that I got to move into motivation, and it's going to be a little different.
Yeah. The agents that are joining your team, are they experienced agents? Are they brand new agents? Do you have a preference? Do you think certain people are sort of fall into place a little bit quicker?
Yeah, we have all types, really. We just had a lady that joined us 7 years in the business. She was sold 15 homes very consistently, 7 years, seasoned. And she's like, I just know there's more. I want to be pushed. I want this community. I want this vibe. So they're very much, like we always say, we're a self-development company that happens to sell real estate. Like we want people's mindset strong and, to let go of their baggage, to think bigger, to basically like a mini Mike Ferry retreat. You know how we left those retreats and you're so inspired. We wanted to feel that way. So we get some seasoned agents, we're getting more now. We get brand new agents and then anything in between. So, and we don't really recruit agents from a calling them perspective. They just see our social media and they come, they call us, which is awesome.
Do you only hire women?
No, we have
just
lots
kidding.
of them.
I think based on your Instagram, there's a lot of pictures with just a lot of
ladies.
Women. Yes.
Yeah. No, we have men on our team now.
That's good. That's good that you're
led team, but we allowed men in.
That's sweet of you.
I know.
So Tina, you said you like to view yourselves as a self-development company that happens to sell real estate.
Yeah.
And when you run an organization that carries that kind of thought process, the leader has to be that times 10. What are you doing in the area of your self-development to constantly stay ahead of it so that way you're leading the pack in that direction?
I think I always said I would want to be a therapist if I wasn't a realtor. Like even before, my mother actually watched special needs children growing up. And so we had social workers in our house all the time. And I always thought, God, what a cool job. Like social work, helping kids, a therapist for whatever reason was just on my list. So when I think about this now, like professional development to me has always been a thing I've loved to research. So I have a coach for myself as he's a sales coach and helps our team as well with the prospecting. That used to be Mike Ferry as well. I also have a coach that helps us with communications coach. So it's a DISC assessment coach, strengths and weakness coach. And then I also have a coach that is a business coach that helps us with run our entrepreneurial operating system. So I knew that what got me here couldn't get me there. And so as I differentiate the three parts of the business, if I want to build a Fortune 500 company, I'm not the one that has the business acumen to get us there. So now I hire these three people. So we have a well-rounded vision in case I'm not seeing something, they can chime in and go, you're missing this. Oh yeah, you're right. So we're just always trying to develop myself, even more higher level than just, scripts and dialogue, if you will.
That's great.
Yeah. I could see that like perfectly. As you're saying, it's like you have a salesperson for the production for the agents. So that way you could know what you're teaching the agents as well and what they're learning as well. So you're on top of your game. Communication coach. So that way you can help communicate those lessons, the leadership questions that you need to be able to confrontation, right? So that way you can keep the retention there with the agents too. It's a different kind of client, and then business to make sure that you're profitable.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Profitability is a good thing.
What was it that caused you to become so focused on, one thing that I would definitely give you credit for throughout this conversation today is that you really know your numbers. You know, even down to, you know, knowing that you make $2,200 off of one transaction. What was it that caused you to get so buttoned up on your numbers?
You know, I think it's, for me, it's like if I do something, I always thought, well, what's the return? If I spend this much time on the phone, what's the return? So I think it was sort of that Mike Ferry training. It's like, how many calls I needed? I knew I needed to make 15. I had to have 15 conversations to get an expired. That was it. So if I made 15 contacts, I would get a listing. And so knowing that and always having my numbers analyzer up, you know, my disc coach used to say, because Mike would say, you're not an analytical, you're a high D. And my coach would say, my new coach that says people don't know DISC. In fact, he hates DISC. He likes the values index. But he said, actually, you're very analytical. You just analyze things in your head very quickly and you don't need the process. You see the process, where an analytical says, I don't see the process. Can you put it down on paper? So a lot of times we are all very analytical. We just analyze things faster and we're annoyed because people are slower. We're like, come on, don't you see it? So I think that's it for me. It's like, I'm just constantly, you know, just trying to analyze the numbers, make sure they make sense. If I spend this kind of money here, I've never been so over analytical where I have 52 spreadsheets, but I need to know that net. So I know that I'm actually growing and there's profit there. And yeah, so I've just always been focused. If you track it, and it's simple numbers, it's simple math, you know, you'll be happier knowing that you're not just spending unwisely.
Yeah. I think it becomes even more important when you grow the team, right? Because
yes, oh my gosh, yes.
There's a lot more profit margin when you're a high producing individual agent, right? With one or two TCs, like you said before. And the results are your sole responsibility.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're training people to close the transactions, and the numbers become a lot more thin. Yeah,
and you got salaries, and that's why Mike would say, don't grow a team, but I don't buy into that anymore. Like, I think, you know, and I said this, it's funny because we kind of got in a little battle about it, but I was like, Mike, you grew a team. You grew a team of coaches, you know, like you have lots of leverage. You're not coaching 4,000 people. So, so it's the same game, right? It's the leverage game, but you're going now into coaching, training, you're running an office. That's what a team is. I call it a teamridge. We're a brokerage, but we're a team. So we're a teamridge. We function as a brokerage, but we have splits like and value like a team.
All right. And by the way, Mike's ISAs call me all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Inviting me to the next event and the next.
You mean it's not Mike doing all the calls for 2 hours a day every morning?
That's so strange how that works, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. And they're well scripted.
I know.
And usually I buy what they're selling me.
They're very optimistic.
Weird.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think, you know, in Mike's defense, if he broadcasts that picture that you can grow the team or that you can, you know, buy Zillow leads and still be profitable, that the average person who's in that room would do it and do it incorrectly.
And they'll do it. Yes. It ruins his model, right? Because if you get everybody off the phones and now you're buying leads, now you're not doing the work, right? The work is the 2 hours a day, So it is an absolute must foundational piece, but it's not a piece for scalability. It's a great foundation.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I've said this before too on this platform, is just that, you know, I feel like Mike, I'm forever grateful because he brought me from 25 to 50 deals to 75 deals to 100 deals.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I would look up and I'd say I'm a highly paid technician, right? And if I were to go out of town for a week, there's no new business coming in, right?
Exactly.
Then you don't own a business, right?
Right.
If you own a storefront business and you're going on vacation, you want the business to still be open. But in my case, the doors were locked, right?
That's right. That's right.
Which is not a business. So.
No. And that's that, what is it? The Rob Kiyosaki, right? Employee, self-employed.
Quadrant.
Business owner, and then the investor. And now that's how I look at the team. I'm the investor at the top going, how much am I going to invest in my operation? This is my, you know, I'm an operator. And so, and now I just look for ways to make different streams of income. I don't want to exchange my time for money belly to belly anymore. I want to help and develop people. And the biggest thing you said is people open teams, they're not profitable. But the problem is they're not profitable. They don't bring enough agents in, but they're terrible leaders. A lot of us don't need to be the ones that are with the agents because we're too impatient and we're not the right ones to lead them. And so when we understand that our personality style probably isn't the best to be in the front of the room being the sales coach, that's a better epiphany too. Like, ooh, I probably shouldn't be here. I'm going to turn off a lot of people. I mean, look at Mike. you imagine Mike coaching every day? He's not going to be for everyone. He'd run everybody out the door, you know?
Well, sometimes I read those scripts again and I'm like, these are very, very driver scripts.
They are so driver.
One of three things will happen.
Right. You either do this, or this, which I love.
Yeah.
That correct.
Yeah. It's that's certainly insightful.
Yeah.
You said something, Tina. You said epiphany. I was going to say a different word earlier, but it goes around the question I wanted to ask you. Every time you're exposed to something, your exposure gives you more of a better perspective, really, in what direction you need to go, right? So you're exposed to teams. You're like, let me look into this. You're exposed to how to do it in the right way, and you're just like, oh well, this analogy of opening up a coffee shop. You're exposed to different ways of operating and doing things. How do you have these epiphanies, and what thought process are you always asking yourself to encourage that to come out, so that way you're always adapting and growing?
I mean, are you saying like just the idea of these epiphanies? Like for me, like how do I create these?
It sounds like you constantly have exposure to things that are constantly helping you adapt and grow.
Yes, I see.
Because your trajectory almost sounds like it was going like this, and you did it in such a way where if I was to say, do you have any regrets about the way you operated certain things?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody does, but the way that you did it was very strategic, and you had everything set in such a good way where you didn't have to learn from those, like any failures, major failures from those.
Yeah. Well, the first things first is I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio in my car. I'm just always consuming. I'm always consuming podcasts and just listening to guys and gals talk about their business, because I always pick up a nugget. And so I want to hear, actually, I'm looking for failures. That's all I'm looking for. Where are people failing? Where are they failing? Where are they failing? Why are they failing? And I'm always a big picture person. So I like analogies. And they just come to me and I'm like, that makes sense, because I'm visual. So, but the other thing is the last 3.5 years, I've been really blessed. I mean, the company I'm involved in right now, it's sort of like drinking from a fire hose. Imagine having, thousands of people now at my fingertips coming together every single week and sharing information with one another. That's really blown the lid off our production, because nothing's a secret anymore. We have this community. So I would say, like our masterminds, join a mastermind, be part of a mastermind where people are sharing openly every single week, because you're going to be stuck, and then somebody else is going to have a thought and you're going to go, oh my God, I didn't think about it that way. Like when somebody told me you're chasing a $12,000 commission check, you could be chasing an agent and turning that into $40,000, $50,000 a year on average, let's say per agent. It's like, go chase an agent and help them make a great career. I'm like, that makes so much sense. So it's those little things. So I'm always seeking out masterminds. I'm always seeking out coaches. And I don't stay with my coaches very long either, because I feel like with Kathy, it was like, eventually it was redundant. She kept me in line for what I needed, but I stayed in that role too long. So now if I'm like, okay, I'm going to grow a team, who is just ahead of me? I don't need the person that's like 5 million years ahead of me. I just need the person that's at the level I want to be. And then I, go to that person and I learn what I need to learn. And then I'm off to the next one. So I bring in information pretty quickly and then disseminate it in my head and apply it and make sure I take action, and then go from there and tweak. And I fail at a lot of things, therefore I win.
I love that. Tina, this is, were you always like this? Like growing up, was this like something that you were always the thought process, or is this something that was trained?
I just am who I am. So yeah, I don't even know that I'm a certain way. We're just having a conversation.
Fair enough.
KIRO.
I guess the one thing that's ringing in my mind, or from going from a highly productive salesperson to a leader, that's like a shock in itself.
It is.
What were some of the things, or how did you make it through that in a fast way, or how'd you?
Well, I'm still through it today. So I'll give you some of the challenges. I'm a very direct person. I'm low on emotion. I'm not emotional. So, I have some staff right now. We had our powwow 3 days, and we had our integrator there, and she, there was a lot of tears and crying, and I have to know that I have to be better at asking different questions to my staff, make sure I, worry about how are they feeling and how should I say this? If I have to give direction to someone, I don't want to, so you're trying to manage people and all of their emotions. When you're just by yourself, you just go and work, and you just do what you want all day, and you want to eat in the car, eat in the car. You want to go take a break, take a break. Like no one's there managing you. I can't be managed. That's one thing. Like I've been fired from every job before real estate. And so, because again, I can't have a boss. I don't want to ever feel controlled. And so to now have people that I have to help and nurture and, you know, they have ideas. And if I have to poo-poo those ideas, I'm like, no, I'm the boss and I just don't like that idea. That might make them feel unheard or unseen. And so you got to deal with all of those emotions with all these different personalities. And yet these are the people that are helping you grow your business. So you respect them, you love them, you care for them. And then at the end of the day, you have to make hard decisions on to say yes or no, or am I hurting somebody's feelings, or am I not a nice boss? You know, I'm always trying to think of others, but it's hard. It's hard because I'm tunnel vision every day on the business. Sometimes I'm not the best boss to give all this, the pats on the back, if you will.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
John's the most robotic person when it comes to that sometimes too. So
There's a few tears here and there, but like, I try
I'll
to
be like, John, this is the time to get emotional. He's like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Time to cry in front of our people.
Yeah, well,
We have emotions. They're down there, way down there, and they come out later on when we're drinking.
They're communicating.
yeah, that's about right.
Right?
So we talked about your numbers early on. I just wanted to close with a question like this: 850 transactions for this year. What's stopping you guys from getting to 1,500?
It's not. That's our goal. Next year, we have a goal for 1,200 next year. So.
And what do you think will be different? What's going to be different in 2020?
So we have, we're
2023?
hiring 1 to 2 more sales trainers for the team. So we're going to have more hands-on help for the agents, more accountability for the agents. And we have like we have a couple domination plans, so we have our city called Carry. We have a Carry domination plan. We have a couple different marketing tactics that we're going to double down on. So as everyone's like leaving the business or pulling money out, we're like, oh, let's go all in on spending more and really, just getting in front of more people. So.
Awesome.
You make it seem so simple when you talk about it. It's like, it is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's really not easy. But again, I challenge anybody to care as much as I do about what I do. And I don't, like I said, I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio. my head's always in a business book because I love our company. I love what we do. I love real estate. So I think if you love something, it doesn't feel like a job. Your passion just comes through and you're just doing it all day. So I'm staying ahead of people that are in it as a job, don't love it because they're trying to take breaks all the time because they just, their heart's not into it. So
Yeah.
that's a competitive advantage, I guess.
One of my last questions I'll ask is 3 book recommendations other than the sales, coaching salespeople to be champions.
3 book recommendations, you said?
Yeah, 3 of your favorite books.
There's one called Rocket Fuel. I think that is a really important book. That kind of, so Rocket Fuel, I don't know if you guys know that, by Gino Wickman. That teaches the EOS model, the coaching salespeople and sales champions. I'm trying to think of another book that I read so many.
Or podcasts maybe that you...
Sales Accelerator Formula. That's a great book. Sales Accelerator Formula. I stopped listening to podcasts as much as now as I'm doing more books, and we have tons of masterminds. Our masterminds are my new podcasts. So, to be honest,
that's great.
And now I'm doing more, more about psychology and stuff like that. So, Tony Robbins,
Fantastic.
More Tony.
Thank you so much, Tina. We really, really appreciate you spending some time with us today. I think this was certainly beneficial for anybody out there looking to, move out a little bit out of the technician role and more into, a team leader role, and to sort of start building a team and doing it the right way and the profitable way for sure. So that was definitely some insights I took away from it. Yep. If anybody wanted to reach out with you, collaborate with you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
They can find me anywhere. I'm on YouTube. I do a lot of, actually my listing presentations on YouTube. You'll appreciate it. It's Mike Ferry one.
Love it.
Yeah. YouTube, Instagram, just Tina Caul. I'm everywhere.
Awesome.
I
have to say I love when we have powerful women like yourself on this platform, because it's women that we've had on here, like, are so much more impressive, and they're doing so much more that it's incredible, and we should be having a lot more.
You know she's married, right?
No, I know I'm not hitting on Tina right now. I'm sorry, but you're an incredible person, and you're an incredible person, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you, KIRO.
So much value in that.
Guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Thanks, KIRO.